to see it, friends, and welcome to The World Transformed. This program is your guide to an astounding future that lies ahead, one that will be here sooner than you think, and one that you have an important role to play in bringing about. So when does this astounding future begin? Well, today is the day. My name is Phil Bowermaster, and with me in the virtual studio is my co-blogger, co-futurist, and co-host, Stephen Gordon. Hello, Stephen.
Hey, Phil, how are you?
Well, I'm super fantastic. How are you, my friend?
Man, I'm doing great. Doing great. Got to Wednesday.
We've made it to the hump day, and once again, we're going to get a little bit philosophical this week. Not incredibly philosophical, but Monday we talked about weird energy. Tonight we're going to talk about life extension and resurrection. And the resurrection is kind of a cheap use of that term, but hey, I'm doing clickbait this week. All this week is clickbait on World Transform, so enjoy it. It's not completely inappropriate to use that term, though. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's not inappropriate.
It's reasonably appropriate to use it for the purpose that we're applying it. But before we talk about resurrection, let's talk about life extension. So it's kind of two sides of the same coin: continuing life or bringing life back. And there have been two very interesting news stories about that in the past week. The first of which is Craig Venter and his new company. He wants to improve human longevity. This is exciting. As exciting as any development we've seen in this space, and that includes having Google get into this space in recent months.
Well, Craig Venter's name is huge. He was the guy for our audience who may not know that challenged the Genome Project and said, I can do it faster than you guys, even though y'all got like a 4 or 5 year head start on sequencing the human genome. I can beat you guys.
Right.
And so he went to work and he was doing so well in that venture that basically I think that there was some calls made, and President Clinton was able
got
to
Craig on the phone and said, "Hey, slow down." Is that right?
Slow down. You can't make this government project look bad. So eventually, what they ended up doing was, the President Clinton came out and said, well, it's been sequenced. We're successful, and it's a tie between this government project and Craig Venter.
Right.
An absolute tie. The very same day, the last nucleotide to be sequenced by both. So we got the first draft. So that's,
You know what that's like? Did you ever see those comics where Superman and the Flash race?
Yeah.
Always a frickin' tie. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so. The guy has some cred. When he says he's gonna do something incredible that no one's ever done before, don't bet against him. He's the guy that took on and probably beat, although it's said to be a tie.
Tied with, although they had a head start and he still tied officially.
Yeah.
So impressive either way. So now what's he up to? He wants to create the world's largest, most comprehensive database of genetic and physiological information. And this is really interesting, the kind of unusual road he's going down on this. I don't know the specifics of what Google is doing, but what Venter is doing feels different to me. He's looking at metabolism primarily as this indicator of aging, and I can see where there's a huge relationship between the two. But by looking for markers of metabolism throughout the genome, that he believes is the most promising place to start correcting what happens when aging occurs. Is that a fair description of what he's up to?
Yes, I mean, obviously he's sequenced the human genome a number of times now. I mean,
right.
and he's getting it down to where it's about $1,000. He's part of that effort to keep reducing, exponentially reducing about by an order of magnitude. It seems to come down. So we're due for the $100 genome, Phil, in a year or two.
Right.
But yeah, it's presently at about $1,000. So he's done that. Now what he's working on now is the microbiome, and that's where he's sequencing the DNA of the intestinal flora, the little creatures that live inside our bodies, that help us digest our food. Also, the microbiome would include things that are on the outside of us as well. We're like little jungles of creatures that it would give you the creepy crawlies if you think about it too much. But And that's part of it. And you have good things that are growing on you and in you that actually help you, and you have other things that are not so great.
Well, have you seen the stats on how many cells you have in your body versus how much bacteria you have in your body?
Yeah, we're really walking back
We are just
bacteria.
walking balls of bacteria, is all human shaped
That's
balls of
right.
bacteria, basically.
I saw a representation of what we would be like if you took everything away except for the bacteria, and we're like little ghosts. We'd be walking
You mean
around.
you mean if you took all
Somewhat
the
trans.
bacteria away and just left what wasn't bacteria?
No, no. If you left the bacteria and everything else was taken away,
Oh, okay.
we'd only be slightly translucent. We look pretty much like
Oh, I see.
ourselves.
I see. I get it. Yeah,
And
kind of an empty
uh,
shell, as it were.
yeah, exactly. So that's I need to dig up that picture so you can attach it to this show. But yeah, it's
So here we go. We go digging into the genome of the microbiome, all of our little critters that make us up, and then we start looking at these pieces called the metabolites that can be found in the blood and other patient samples. And maybe the key to aging lies there. What's interesting about that is it's a model that is very distinct from Aubrey de Grey's strategies
yeah,
for engineered negligible senescence. It doesn't focus on the cells per se. It focuses on kind of the genome as a whole and a bunch of other genomes as a whole, and looks at the relationship between them. What I like about that is, gee, if only one of these guys is right, now we've got twice as many chances for somebody to be right about how to do this thing, right? And
well,
I think there's a pretty
hey,
good chance that there's
if
good stuff to be found in both directions.
that's right. And if either of these guys are even just inspire someone else that comes along and does well, or if Venter is can't give us 100 more years of life, but can only give us 20,
Hmm.
that you can't count that as a failure, can you? So I mean, that's any strides that are made would be awesome in this area. So
One of the
you know,
things that I really admire about what I've seen so far from this is there's no talk about immortality, there's no talk about indefinite lifespan, there's no talk even about living to 100 or any of that. It's
yeah.
all about we're going to figure out what this thing is. We're going to figure out what aging is and work on it. Um,
Yeah.
and that's compelling enough, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, you don't have to offer 1,000 years to the world or something like that. It's we see every single person that reaches age 40 sees what aging does to your own body,
that's
and of
right.
course and to your loved ones. We're all subject to it, and yeah, let's address these issues.
We
And
there are huge public health benefits to curing aging. Putting aside the whole issue around overpopulation or any of that other kind of stuff, if you just get rid of the damage of aging, and somehow miraculously people still continue dying at roughly the same age they're dying at without having gone through that horrible aging thing,
yeah,
um, as a society we're a lot better off because we're not spending all this money on people's last 2 years of life, last year of life, last 6 months of life that currently happens, and it's all primarily because of aging. So I think there's a good public policy argument for this, and there's also a good we're kind of all in the same boat argument that you just
yeah.
made for it. I don't see a lot of people protesting this one so much, and maybe because it doesn't have the typical life extension shine on it. I don't know.
Let me throw out a deal for you,
Okay.
Phil. Let's say I've got the technology to offer you this, and here's the deal. It's a Faustian bargain because
Okay.
we have to deal with this population issue. I can give you this treatment that and you'll have to take it periodically to stay young,
Okay.
but rejuvenation every 5 years. But it's indefinite, and as long as you don't do something stupid, run out in front of a bus, you're going to be fine.
Okay. I'll
Um,
take it. Unless you're going to
yeah,
have me do something evil, I'll
here's
take
the
it.
deal.
Okay.
When you reach age 80, you have to live off world after that.
Okay.
You have to leave the planet to the youngsters, and you have to go someplace else.
Now there needs to be some place. Okay.
Yeah,
That's all I ask.
yeah. Mars, Moon.
No, but I mean,
You know.
okay, those places are there, but there needs to be a place for me to go there. You can't just.
Okay.
I,
Yeah, not just
I
not just
want some kind of facility on Mars that I can go live in. Okay, you can't just say, "Well, Mars is there. Go ahead." I
yeah,
don't think that's.
yeah, if you've seen the movie Gravity, you're not after that.
Yeah.
You don't want to just be in a spacesuit floating out there.
But I would
Okay,
take I would take
I
that
get
deal.
that.
I would
get
take
that.
that deal. Would you take that deal, Stephen?
Oh yeah, oh Oh yeah.
Say after
Oh
90. I got young kids, but
yeah.
it'd be negotiable, and for sure, I would take it at a certain point.
You've talked
I'd
about
take the
your
trip to Mars
retirement
even without
cruise
life
anyway.
extension. What are you
Yeah.
talking about? I don't. You don't even have to dangle that carrot.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about resurrection. What about this business of bringing back extinct species, Stephen? What do you think?
Yeah, it's going to happen, and that's well, the woolly mammoth is the one that I think that we all want to see first. It's and it's probably one of the more doable examples. We have remarkably well preserved corpses of woolly mammoths. It's helpful that they like to hang out in cold places,
Well, in
right?
fact, this whole story springs from, I guess, Russia finding a remarkably fresh mammoth, one where they even found liquid blood still in its
Oh yeah.
tissues when they thawed it out. They said it was
They said,
it was in better shape than
a person that's dead for six
right.
months
Yeah.
is in worse shape than this mammoth corpse. It
Yes.
is extremely fresh, and so they're gathering the DNA from that, and all it would take, you get a donor egg from an African elephant, or or an Indian elephant, and you empty it of the DNA and insert this DNA in it, carry it to term, and an elephant mama will give birth to a woolly mammoth baby.
Well, now
And
in IO9, George Dvorsky says it's not quite that simple. There's
yeah, I'm making it very, very simple,
Yeah,
right?
but
But
there's one piece that I've never read about in this discussion before that I hadn't heard before that George brings up, which is that you actually have to have a living mammoth cell to make this work. If you don't have a living mammoth cell, you need the ability to create a synthetic cell. So one way or another, those are non-trivial problems, right?
right.
Either to somehow revive at least one cell of this dead mammoth, and that's got a Dr. Frankenstein feel to it. But it might be possible to somehow make a culture out of those. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or we wait until eventually we're going to have artificial life, and you can just take the genetic information from one of those dead cells and create an artificial cell that has that information in it. But according to the article, we're a good decade away from that. So unless they can find a cell that's got a little bit of metabolism still going on, which seems impossible at this point after all this time, or unless they can somehow zap one back into a living state. I'm not even sure exactly what that means. This won't work.
Well, if George is right, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
What I described is it would be a whole lot less difficult. You would take the living egg cell of a present day elephant, and just remove the DNA of that elephant, and insert the DNA of this creature. And DNA is just a molecule, right? Now you'd have to be careful in the extraction of that DNA,
Right.
so you get the whole thing. You don't want half of the DNA molecule. You need it all, and then insert it into the egg, and let it, and then the egg is, just continues to work with the new plan, and that would be easier than having to find a live cell. So
According
yeah,
to George, as I read the article, that process of inscribing the other cell with the genetic information requires a living cell. That the only way we know
okay,
how to do that currently is to have one cell kind of copy itself into the other one. So uh, until we either have a machine to write that, or you find a living mammoth cell, apparently or you can create one. That's the that's the sticking point on this one. But briefly, good idea. You think it sounds like you think it is that
yeah.
bringing a woolly mammoth back at this late
We
date
have
would be a good
talked
idea.
ethics about bringing back ancient species of human, Neanderthals and things like that. And you and I agree, Phil, that that would be a very bad idea.
Yep.
The ethics are just way too complicated. Let's not do that at all. But something like a woolly mammoth, I mean, yeah, man, that's the world lost an incredible creature. Let's get it back. We've been responsible for enough extinctions. Maybe it's time for us to turn the tide in the opposite direction. So yeah,
I
no
think
no
that
no downside to that.
I think it's a worthy project. I will actually give the last word to Paul Ehrlich, with whom I rarely agree on things. who points out that, okay, well, we could do that, or maybe we could just stop other animals from going extinct, put resources into that. And I'm like, well, okay, it doesn't have to be either or. But
Yeah, it's
points well made there,
somebody.
Paul. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's easier not to let them go extinct than it is to try to bring them back 10,000 years later. So I think we're kind of on the same page, Stephen. Let's be the anti-extinction species now. You know, we've kind of done the one
We've
thing
done the
long
other
enough.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah, let's.
that's old. That's that's old and busted.
That's the old and busted. The new hotness is we're going to be bringing stuff back and creating
Exactly.
new things. Absolutely. All right, Stephen, what's our music?
Okay, our music tonight. Excuse me, Phil, while I get to it.
Of course.
It is a Red Car by Yuma House.
Red Car by Yuma House. Thanks for putting that together, Stephen. Thank you all for being with us. We will be back on Friday with another scintillating topic. The book is dead. Long live the book. Hope you'll all be with us. And until next time, live to see it.
Bought the turbo, upgraded stereo. Now I can barely go half as fast as we used to walk it. Off the backyards to where the swimming pool was. Now I follow your tracks to wherever fools go to tread, but you don't ever have the chance that I promise not to stall out. Yeah, trying to run my life like the red car. Yeah, trying to run my life like the red car. Yeah, trying to run my life like the red car. You better slow down, cause it might be something subtle, easy to miss. Wish I could party with you once more, throw the future up for grabs. Just like the very first